Welcome back. Today in the studio, we've got Lydia Player of Ebby Holiday Realtors, and she is a top agent in North Texas. She's been heard on the TV on Channel 8, 4, and 11. She's also been named top agent through D Magazine as well as Texas Monthly, and she is quoted in USA Today, Dallas Morning News. When people need to know about real estate in North Texas, Lydia is a great resource. So we brought her in the studio today to really, I want to keep every week reporting to our listening audience, what is going on. Because when we were talking back in January, December, February, the market was very different. I had realtors on talking about foreclosures, distressed inventory, great values to buy, all those things. Then all of a sudden, April hit. March, April hit. Things changed. There were all this in my opinion, all this pent-up demand for real estate. People had sat in their houses since 2006. The average person stays in their house how long, Lydia?
7 years.
7 years. So timing's about right? Mm-hmm. If you've had your house since 2006, you're probably itching to get out and make a move. Plus, we've had a lot of influx of people moving into the marketplace. So there's been a lot of things happening, and I want to make sure that our listeners get the most current information for local news. I mean, you can watch national news and it really doesn't give you a clear picture of what's happening in your backyard. So we brought Lydia into the studio today. Lydia, what is going on in North Texas as far as the real estate market today?
Well, Steve, you were really right. The market changed in March. And typically, real estate, we've turned the corner, and typically it takes a while for the market to come around. But we have turned the corner on two wheels at 90 miles an hour. The market has come back with a roaring vengeance, and it's turned from a buyer's market to a seller's market almost overnight. And it's really a seller's market now. It's not just a little bit of a seller's market. It's quite a seller's market. We're seeing multiple offers on properties. Sales are up and inventory's down. So that combination, along with the interest rates are still good. I know they're going up, but they're still good. And that kind of combination is really healthy for us.
Yeah, interest rates have gone up a little over a point since April, end of April. And, one of my clients I pre-qualified for a $190,000 loan called me up, and she was looking hard in April and then got, she couldn't find what she wanted, lack of inventory. And so she had her eye on a property, and she said, she called me up and said, Steve, how bad is it? I've been reading about the rates. And I said, your payment went up $100 a month. And even though it went up a point in rate, it was only $100 a month. Mm-hmm. So, I don't get people too stuck on the interest rates, and we're going to see increase. I believe wholeheartedly we're going to be high into the fives, by 2014.
Oh, I think we will this year. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll probably by this fall. We're already seeing some, depending on how much money you want to put into the mortgage, because you can buy down your rate, or you can, get a credit if you take a higher rate. And, we're seeing, people looking at fives now, and when you boil it down to the payment, it's really, that's what it's all about anyway at the end of the day. So I think if you're listening, don't call your lender and say, I want that 3.75 rate that was offered back in March.
Sorry, it's gone. Once the bandwagon's gone by, it's a little too late to jump on.
It is, but so don't get too hung up on that as a buyer. I think the key is how much a month is it? What's your financial strategy? When you call our office, we're going to get deep into that. What is a financial strategy? I still talk to a lot of people about 15-year loans, especially those that are putting a small down payment down. I'm more the realist, I think, when it comes to financial planning, as using your mortgage for a financial plan. And, my customers that have been with me a long time, they really thank me for guiding them the way I have. And I guide people like I would my own children. It's just, my oldest son, Scott's 28. I tell him, if you can't afford a 15, you're only going to put 5% down or 3.5% down. If you can't afford the 15-year payment, then you're not going to be ready to move out of that house in 5 years, because you've got to pay about 7 to 10% to sell your house. Mm-hmm. So that's something that we talk about. But let's drill into, well, we've got a moment here, statistically, what's been going on in North Texas specifically.
Year to date, we've had about 88,000 sales, and that's one calendar year, July to July. And if you look at the previous year, we had about 74,000 sales for the same amount of time, and the year before that we had 65,000. So obviously sales are up. However, if you look at the number of homes that are available for sale, right now we've got 31,000 homes available for sale in North Texas. A year ago, we had 40,000.
So supply and demand, prices
Supply
are
and
going
demand.
up.
Prices are on their way up. And so you talked about interest rates are going up, prices are going up. Savvy buyers are saying this is the time. And so we look at how much months of inventory we have. And when we look at the amount of inventory we have, typically a 6-month inventory is a healthy market. We like to see that. Less than a 6-month inventory, it's a seller's market. More than that, it's a buyer's market. And when we say that much inventory, currently we have about a 4.5-month inventory of homes for sale throughout North Texas. Obviously, homes that are more expensive, over $1.5 million, you've got a good year or so of inventory because there's just fewer buyers for those
Still
homes.
a buyer's market in that price range.
Yes, depending on where
If
you
I'm
are
using
in the
your
neighborhood.
math, I'm just
Yes,
trying to,
that's
okay,
right.
6
That's
months
right.
inventory, it's the equal point, buyer and seller, and then it goes over. So
Right. So if you're selling a home in the $200,000 to $300,000 range, you've probably got maybe a month and a half to 2 months of inventory. Those homes are going like crazy. There's more buyers for them.
yeah, and those are the ones I'm hearing multiple offers. I mean, we do a
Yes.
lot of pre-qualification. We'll talk about the difference of pre-qualification and pre-approvals in our next segment. But one of the things that my buyers that are already, they're financially ready to go, but they're finding they go in, and if they're trying to get a specific price or they're not offering asking price or above, they're not getting those deals. And that's where they call me up and they're frustrated because they can't find the house that they wanted.
Right. And people sometimes ask me, how much should we offer on this house? Well, it depends on how the house is priced. Some homes are priced very well, and you better offer above the asking price. There's other homes that are overpriced. So a good agent's going to be able to tell you, they're going to run the comps on it and be able to tell you what the value is of that house, what's it worth. And then as a seller, if we've got multiple offers, we're looking at more than the front page of the contract. We're looking at more than the price. There are a lot of terms in a contract that you need to take in consideration. We're looking at the option period, how much time you're asking for. We're looking at what kind of financing you're getting. We're looking at what else you're asking for in that contract. So as a buyer, if you make it more appealing, and I'm not talking about just writing a little sweet letter saying we're a nice family and with two kids and a dog,
yeah.
and we love your
We've
home.
We've heard that from
Yes.
Housing Wire was on our show a few months ago, and they were talking about how a couple actually got a house because they did the sweet letter and the dog thing.
Yeah. Oh, we love that.
Over that. So.
But you know what? A pre-qualification letter speaks a little bit more to the seller.
I would imagine that they had a very strong pre-qualification letter that went with it.
They did have it along with it.
Or maybe
but
a pre-approval.
Yeah, we need to make sure you're going to be able to close on the house. So if you're offering over asking price, but we don't think you're going to be able to close, you're not putting down enough earnest money, we need to see that you're serious in it. So there's a lot of things you can do besides the price that makes you appealing to a seller.
Well, yes, and so I want to ask the question a little more about the days of inventory or that's there based on price point, because we talked a little bit about the higher priced homes. We talked about the $200,000 house. We talked about the $1.5 million. What's happening in the say $400,000 to $800,000 price range?
We still see those selling well. They're still doing really well. We've got a lot of
buyer's market or a seller's market.
It's a seller's market right now.
Really?
Up to about $1.2 million, it's a complete seller's market.
Really?
And then we start seeing it a little bit tighter, but it's when I say it's over a year's inventory above $1.5 million, we might have a year's inventory kind of depending on the neighborhood. But I can tell you a few years ago we had a 3.5-year inventory. So
okay.
It's certainly much, much better, even though it's still a higher inventory. And typically we see a higher inventory in homes that are higher priced.
Is it
So
hard
that's
for
not
you as a
unusual.
real estate agent to, being that I think most people that are getting ready to list their house realize it's a seller's market? They're listening to the news and they're listening to this show. So is it hard for you to get them to come up with a realistic price, or are they saying, okay, I'll accept this price, but I want to go ahead and list it a little higher and test the market?
We get them all over the place, and it kind of depends on whatever the latest headlines were. They hear, I hear prices are up 20%, so I want 20% more than what I was going to ask for, and I'll have to tell them, you need to look at that statistic. Was that a national statistic, a local statistic? Are we talking about $100,000 condos? Let's look at your home. And so we've got to run the comps. We've got to look at the comparables, because let's say you decided you had $1 million home and you want to put it on the market at $1.5 million. And let's say we got lucky and we actually found somebody stupid enough to give you $1.5 million for it. Well, they'd have to be able to get financing on it. It has to
get
appraise.
appraisal. Yeah.
And if it doesn't appraise, then you've gone down a dead-end street. So, you have to be a realist.
Yeah.
And you've really got to look at, what the market is.
Price per foot, I mean, I hear a lot of agents talk about that, and a lot of buyers are looking at price per foot, neighborhoods, things like that. Is that part of the conversation?
If you're in a typical subdivision, that you're up in Frisco in a subdivision, price per square foot is a really driving factor. If you're in an area of maybe Preston Hollow or Highland Park, you've got to look at lot sizes, you've got to look at age of the home. There's a lot of other things, whether, what the lot's like, how many trees you've got, the pool, all those kind of things factor in. It's not just a price per square foot, but that is something that appraisers use strongly.
That's right. And if you've just tuned in, you're listening to Real Talk Texas. We've got Lydia Player of Ebby Holiday in the studio today, and we are talking about real estate in North Texas. We're talking about buying and selling a house. We started to segue into that. In the next segment, we're going to talk specifically. We're going to get some keys from a real expert in the real estate market, Lydia Player. She's going to give us some real keys about strategies on buying and strategies on selling your home. So you want to stay tuned here on KLIF AM 570 News and Information.